Welcome to the Qvera Interface Engine, or QIE for short. In this series, QIE Basics, we will introduce you to our visual way of building interfaces using QIE's drag-and-drop wireframe development platform, the Visual Channel Editor. In this episode, we're going to show you how to navigate within QIE, set up notifications and alerts, and where to go for help when you need it. To get started, we will log into QIE as the system administrator. If you need help with this, please see our video on installing QIE. The QIE user interface is divided into two main sections, the navigation panel on the left and the content panel on the right. The navigation panel is used to navigate between different components within the application, such as global settings, zones, and the system administration settings. When you select a component in the navigation panel, it is displayed in the content panel. For example, when we select the default zone and click on the Channels button, the content panel now displays all of the channels associated with that zone. The taskbar at the top of QIE contains the application menu, which allows you to import and export configurations, the view menu, which allows you to customize the appearance of QIE, and the help menu, which gives you access to QIE documentation, such as our reference manual, tutorial, and our backup and disaster recovery guide, and a helpful link to the Qvera KB. On the right side of the taskbar are the number of active system alerts. We have 2 outstanding alerts that QIE is unable to send email notifications. These are important to resolve as QIE relies on email for warning and error notifications and password resets. Later in this episode, we will show you how to fix this by configuring access to an SMTP server. But first, we need to assign an email address to our user and associate them with the default zone. Within QIE, resources are grouped and managed into logical constructs called zones. Each zone is a silo of objects containing specific channels, web service connections, database connections, system variables, published mappings, published functions, and certificates. It is important to note that a resource in one zone cannot be seen, accessed, or used by any other zone. The only exception is the global settings zone, which is used for resources that need to be accessed by multiple zones. For example, if you have a database connection which needs to be used by 2 or more zones, you should create that as a global database connection instead of creating the same database connection in each zone. This allows you to manage the connection from one central location, and if a change is needed, you only need to make it once. Adding new zones is very easy to do. When you want to add an additional zone, navigate to the System Administration section, which allows you to manage users, zones, and configure system-wide settings. Click on Manage Zones. Select the New button and give the new zone a name, like Lab Interfaces. You can select a color for this zone via the drop-down menu and provide a brief description. Under the User Permission, we can select which users have access to this zone. System administrators always have access to all zones. To keep you updated on how the interface engine is running, QIE sends email alerts and error notifications to the QIE users who are associated with the zone. In order to receive email alerts, you must have an email address associated with the QIE user and configure the SMTP settings in the system administration. Let's set up a user account for our Lab Interface Manager so they can receive email alerts and notifications for our Lab Interface zone. Within System Administration, select the Manage Users section. Click on the New button and create the login ID. Enter in the full name of the user and their email address. Next, we need to either designate them as a system administrator, which grants the user access to all zones, or specify user permissions to 1 or more zones. If you want a user to receive alert emails, ensure that the Alerts checkbox is selected for that zone. We will give our lab manager all permissions to our lab interface zone. Below is a detailed description of the access each permission level provides. The final step to setting up email notifications is configuring access to your SMTP server so QIE can send out email alerts. We will be using Gmail as our SMTP server. However, you can use any SMTP server you have access to. Click on the System Configuration tab. The first thing we need to do is to name our system. Next, scroll down to the Email Settings section and enter in the SMTP server address, port, and your username and password to authenticate. Lastly, we will enter an email address to be used when alerts are sent from QIE. To verify your configuration settings are correct, we recommend sending a test email by clicking on the Send Test Email button. For more detailed information on the other system administration settings, what they do and how to configure them, please refer to the reference manual in the Help section. Now that we've taken a look at how to navigate within QIE, watch our next video on how to create your first interface.